setting the drag on a fishing reel correctly is just basic fishing 101. If you're going to fish for catfish, this is especially true. I'm going to show you how to set the drag on your fishing reels quickly and easily, no fuss. So let's get started. So inside of a fishing reel, on a bait cast reel, it's going to be on the side with the handle. You have drag washers, and these are typically in modern reels today. These are carbon fiber washers that are inside of here. And as you turn this little star forward like this towards the front of the reel, it puts more pressure on those drag washers and it increases the drag on the reel spool. And if you back it off like this and turn it towards you, loosen it up, it decreases that tension. What the drag does is keeps that reel running nice and smooth. So when you have a big fish that just does one of those big Alabama slammers and it pulls that fishing rod tip down to the water, and you have 30 or 40 or 50 or 80 or 100 pounds of catfish on that hook, and you've got 20 or 30 pound fishing line, the drag is what allows you to be able to land that fish on that lighter weight fishing line. Now, it doesn't matter if you fish for catfish or any other species of fish, you need to learn how to set the drag correctly on your fishing reel. A 20 to 30 pound test monofilament is without a doubt the most popular size fishing line for fishing for catfish. 20 pound test means it has a 20 pound break strength. It may be just a little bit more. Some manufacturers will make the line break a little bit higher than the actual break strength, but it's going to be somewhere around 20 pounds. 20 to 30 pound monofilament, hands down, the most popular fishing line for catfish. Doesn't matter what size or brand fishing line you're using. As a general rule, if the line is 20 pound test or less, you're going to set the drag to about 20% of that fishing line test. So 10 pound test, you're going to set the drag to about 2 pounds. For fishing line that's 30 pound test or more, you're going to set the drag to 25 to 30% of the break strength of the fishing line. Now, I don't like to push my drag all the way up to the limit. I always like to err on the side of my drag being light, because I want it to slip, I want it to work. If I'm catching a fish or one of my clients is catching a big fish, I can always reach down there and just bump that drag up just a little bit while we're fighting the fish. But I don't want that line to break on a takedown. And if it's a really big fish and I'm really pushing the capacity on that monofilament, I want it to be lighter than it should be and not pushing that max drag strength. Now, there's a right and wrong way to do this, and we get lots of questions at Whisker Seeker Tackle about how to do this correctly. So I'm going to show you today. Now, I'm going to be the first to admit I actually just set the drags on my reels by feel. Once you've been fishing for a while, you get a feel for what the line should feel like. So I basically just reach down, grab the line right in front of the fishing reel, and I'll pull on it a little bit. And I can tell just by pulling on that line whether it's set correctly or not, whether it needs to be loosened or tightened. But if you want to go all in and do it the technical way, I'm going to show you how to do that. Don't do this by taking a big bucket of weight and trying to pick it up with the fishing rod. That's the worst way in the world to do it, especially if you're setting drag for 60 and 80 pound braid or these crazy strength fishing lines. You don't want to try to pick up a 20 pound bucket of weight. It's just going to cause problems, and it's really not the right way to do it. You just want to use a scale. So let me show you real quick how to do that. So I've got my daughter Ava down here. She's going to help me holding the scale. Now, there's some scales that you can buy. Some people will take scales and tie them off to their boat or tie them off to a workbench or something like that. You can do that, but it's just easier to do this with two people. So I'm going to have her hold the scales. I've just tied a little loop in my fishing line here. I'm going to hook that loop up to the scales, and I'm going to pull up on the fishing rod. And when that scale reads about 8 pounds is where I want the drag on the fishing reel to slip. So if it goes over 8 pounds, I'm going to back it off a little bit. If it's less than 8 pounds, I'm going to tighten it up just a little bit till we get it adjusted right. So let me show you how you do that. There you go. There you got it tight. So I was just pulling up on the rod and watching that scale, waiting for it to hit the number. And when it hit the number, for 20 to 30% of the line break strength is when I want it to slip, and you can adjust from there. That's the right way to set a drag on a fishing reel. The quickest and easiest way to do it. Once you've done that, you've got it set up correctly, pull on that fishing line in front of the reel and start doing that and getting a feel for what it feels like when you pull on that line, pull it off the reel by hand with a properly set drag, and you'll be in a position in no time where you won't have to mess with a scale and do any of this other stuff.